have soaked these peas. Hold on, I'm unlocking the door. We have soaked, I want a keypad entry on all of my doors, because who likes to have keys? And who likes to try to run around and try to find their keys to open a door? Or when you have a friend over and you're like, oh, you could just grab something for me? Or, oh my goodness, I need the oven preheated or something. I don't know, who would do that? You'd have to have a best friend living close to you to tell them, can you go preheat my oven? I'm really hungry and I want to get my pizza cooked faster. If you eat pizza. Okay, I have these pine needle shavings and I was thinking, man, it's so muddy. I didn't want to get our boots all dirty. My girl with her little ostrich skin boots. Interestingly, I was thinking to myself, I wonder, man, it takes 70 days to cultivate this end product of the peas. And I saw in another video from a farmer in Florida, he just sows his sweet sugar snap peas thick. And that is what I did. I sowed them pretty thick in that small line. I did plant all of those peas, and I think he even plants more than that. But I thought to myself, I wonder if you can eat, and I've never heard they're toxic, but I wonder if you could eat the sugar snap pea leaves. And yes, you can. Yep. And you could also sprout them and eat them as sprouts. Some literature says it's, and I'll throw up on the screen here, that they're a bit grassy tasting. I don't know. I'll probably find the flavor delightful. And I don't especially enjoy grass. So I bet it tastes better than grass. I'm just going to try it out. I love the opportunity when I was selling ducklings to get to talk to so many peoples in so many cultures or cultural experiences that people have had. And one of the ladies that came to my farm, we were talking about pumpkin leaves, and I had told her that my ducks had kept like bugs around the pumpkins. Like I would see the ducks walk around my pumpkin plants and be eating bugs and the squash bugs. If you get too many of the ducks, they could do harm to your plants. But the few that I had that were loose were keeping my bug population down. And she told me about, she thought that was interesting, but she told me about an African friend that she had that would eat I've heard of pumpkin blossoms, eating squash blossoms, but actually eating the pumpkin leaves. She actually said to the African woman, you know, if you keep on cutting back your leaves and your blossoms, you're going to end up with no gourds. And funny as that is, she was always the one that had her pumpkins produce, maybe not more, but maybe she said more. Like they produced more, they were healthier, and a lot of the bugs didn't get them. And she said that she'd make a soup out of it. And I found this other article online about African pumpkin soup, leaf soup. I want to eat stuff that tastes good. So I found it interesting that this blogger, she was like, it's not only fascinating that you can eat this, because there's so many things that we can eat that we don't know that we can eat. But she said that it tastes really good. She wants to eat it because it tastes good. And so I'm excited to try something like that out. I also wanted to show you guys, I soaked in the bathtub today. Iowa is sometimes hot and then it's freezing cold, and hot and freezing cold. Spring is like hot, cold, hot, cold. So I soaked in a hot bath today, and I wanted to show you guys that you can soak with borax, Epsom salts, and baking soda, and that is a nice soak. I wouldn't wash your hair in that. I'd wash your hair separate or use vinegar as a conditioner afterwards, because it's kind of it makes your hair just kind of it's afterwards it's kind of weird texture feeling, almost like it's greasy, hard water, I think. Anyhow, and while I soaked, I listened to some of Joel Salatin, and while he was talking about his cows, and I've heard several times where he doesn't like doctor bills for his cattle. So what does he give them? He gives them sea kelp. I was looking through a book of my mother's, and I had no idea that seaweed also contains boron. Seawater contains boron as well. And I was intrigued by that. Here's where my mind goes when I'm thinking about this. I was thinking about how boron helps your bones. Maybe I should just wait for another video for this. I will.
Very, very small. His mother was very worried about him. She said he's just such a picky eater. He just won't eat anything. And she'd had him to the doctor and all sorts of things. He just was extremely, extremely small, and she was quite worried. And she bought a couple dozen eggs, and I said, try those with him. And she called me back a couple of weeks later, and this little 6-year-old, she said, I can't fill him up. He's eating 6 eggs at a time. And what it was, he was starved for nutrition. His body was starved for nutrition. And when he got some good nutrition, it came alive. And so, those things happen. I had a neighbor that had sheep, a flock of, I don't know, 200 or 300 sheep. And they got through the fence one day, and we feed our cows seaweed, dehydrated seaweed as a mineral. Yeah. Kelp. It's kelp from Iceland, and so we give it to them all the time. And I actually drove in the lane, and I could see something. It was a 3-meter tall white pillar out in the field. So what in the world is that? I parked the car. I ran out there, and it was this neighbor's sheep on our mineral box. They were like maggots on a carcass. They were 3 meters high, stacked up in a big tower, trying to get this mineral. They were starved for mineral, and we just see that. We see that all the time.
And we're all starving, aren't we? In that sense, and that's what this food system is creating.
I don't want to drive people into a fear of life because of all of the information that I dish out, but nutritional information and everything. I just hope that people start choosing and understanding where their food comes from, and not only that, but participating in it. Like Joel says in many of his interviews, we can't have this cheap food. We need to be participating in our food production. And although I say we're a homesteading family, and we are a homesteading family, I vocationally am just a stay-at-home mom, and that's what I'm doing right now. My husband, he's an architect, so a lot of people are in the same boat as me, but they are not choosing to have a garden or anything, and that's okay. It says, don't bite off more than you can chew. There's a lot of difficult things out there, but to find value in food and understanding that a lot of even anxiety can be caused by our nutritional famine that we are experiencing, and how it can be precipitated and snowball effect of our lives. Once we start to learn about our food and what that is doing to our bodies, we become excited about learning more and about actually participating in agriculture itself. Whether that is, I don't really want to raise any birds for anyone. I hate raising chickens. I don't like chickens that much, and I will say that. I don't enjoy them. Now, sometimes I can enjoy them pecking around at the ground, and I can appreciate their pretty feathers and lots of things. I enjoyed my ducks more than the chickens, but I don't like growing meat birds. I don't like moving them, and I don't like them. I don't want to raise more than what I need to. So vocationally, I am not striving for this, but I know how to do it. And I know how to butcher a cow. I know how to butcher a pig. I've butchered myself a deer by myself. Darian helped a little bit. Cut up a pig, everything like that. So I know how to do those things, but I want more people to be invested in growing their own. No, I don't want to raise your chicken. I want you to raise chickens. There's enjoyable aspects to it and wonderful abundance in it. There is so much beauty in it. And when you sit down and you take it all in, it feels very gratifying. So I'm hoping that a lot more people do that. Thanks for watching. This is Elizabeth Quam. You can call me Lizzie.
So we actually participated in a test where here in the U.S. where they asked 12 of us in the country that did pastured eggs, for example, to send them to a lab to get nutrient testing. I think they tested 12 nutrients. I'll just take one: folic acid. Folic acid is really, really important for pregnant women, but it's just an essential. It's an essential fatty acid, and so the official U.S. Department of Agriculture nutrient analysis, is on the egg carton, when they put the nutrient labeling on there, the egg has, according to the USDA, has 48 micrograms of folic acid per egg. And so ours averaged, ours averaged 1,038 micrograms per egg. Yeah. So, these are not little 10% variations. These are multiplicative values of difference. Like in beef, grass finished beef has three times or 300% more riboflavin than grain finished beef. Conjugated linoleic acid is what gives the elasticity on the synapses at your nerve endings. It keeps those nerve endings real supple, and it only takes about 2 to 3 weeks of grain feeding to chase all the conjugated linoleic acid out of the body of an herbivore.